I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Jimmy Fallon said, I read that surgeons successfully removed a Nokia cell phone from a man's body after he swallowed it whole. The kids were so embarrassed, they're like, Dad, please swallow an iPhone next time. Pretty good. Corden, he swallowed a Nokia phone, more like a Chokia phone. Corden, his phone got wet and he needed to put it in rice immediately, but he'd eaten all the rice. Great. Fallon, even worse, after 4 days, the man still had 0 notifications. Corden, that's why I always buy the extra long 10-foot charge cord. I know it's a little bit more, but you're happy you paid the money when you're like, got it. Jimmy Fallon, when reached for a comment, the man said he didn't swallow it. It was just the worst butt dial ever. Today, Jon Stewart and Pete Davidson will host NYC Still Rising After 20 Years, Colin, a comedy celebration. That's at Madison Square Garden. Scheduled to appear Jon Stewart, Pete Davidson, Dave Chappelle, Amy Schumer, Jimmy Fallon, Colin, Jost, Michael Che, Bill Burr, Wanda Sykes, and John Mulaney. I wonder if anyone will have any questions for John Mulaney. Now, to deal you straight, I publish this podcast at 3 o'clock, and this is a Sunday night concert, so I will cover this on Tuesday's podcast, most likely. Should be a great show, plus the whole John Mulaney thing. From the New York Times, they spoke to Tiffany Haddish, and they asked her, have you ever crossed lines with a joke? Tiffany Haddish said, yeah. I've said jokes that hurt my mother's feelings, my sister's feelings. I did a special. I did some jokes about my sister, and we were doing the edit. I was like, we got to take that out. 10 years from now, that's not going to be funny. In the moment, the audience was dying laughing, but what was my intention in telling that joke? It was to get the anger out of my heart because I was mad. But am I going to be mad forever? No. Is this worth putting it out in the whole wide world? No. As for new material, Tiffany said, I've been thinking about relationships and how social media has played such a big role in them. Now it's like, oh, he doesn't really love you, girl. He's not following you on social media. He follows me to bed, though, so screw you. B-word. You know what I'm saying? People try to make you feel bad because your guy's not on your Instagram. Oh, he never likes any of your photos. He doesn't really care about you. He just sent me flowers, and they were expensive, so he cares. I realized, too, that I was starting to get addicted to social media, looking for the likes. When I was doing the Carmichael show, I was so mad because I wasn't verified on social media. I'm on this network show, and I can't get verified. They wanted me to do all this press, and I was like, I don't want to do no press unless I get a check mark. I made a big stink about it. Jared Carmichael, one of the smartest young men I know, said, Tiffany, it's not about how many followers you got. It's about having the right followers. They verify you. Those are the people who are giving you the jobs. Those are the people who are doing the marketing for you. That's what you need to be worried about. I was like, shut the bleep up, Jared. I need a bleep and check mark. I got a check mark now. I know no one can pretend to be Tiffany. I mean, people still pretend to be me, and it's sad because people get taken advantage of. I'm like, why would I ask you for money? I didn't ask you for no money when I was homeless and poor. Why would I ask you for money now? I might not be the richest, but I'm not worried about how my light bill's getting paid. So recently, I had the occasion to see The Price is Right for the first time in many, many years. Drew Carey with the beard, not feeling the beard. And Drew Carey, I love Drew Carey. The Drew Carey Show, I love it. You hear the butt coming, but Drew seemed like he was just going through the motions. Like, he doesn't seem like he's into hosting The Price is right now. You know what I mean? Like, he just doesn't have that extra gear. He's just like, all right, whatever, let's play the game. Hey, you want a car? Great. So I saw what the whole reason for the story is I saw the final showcase. Now, the first showcase was here's a car and a treadmill and like something else. And I was like, that's it? Because I feel like it used to be here's a treadmill and a car and a jacuzzi and a trip to Italy. And the guy passed on it. And then the second showcase was like, hey, you've won a manual transmission car. And I'm like, oh, what if he doesn't drive a stick? This kind of sucks. My point being, I feel like the showcases have gone way downhill. And I've brought this up to friends, but we all realize the showcases in like 1980 were like $25,000 and they're still $25,000. The point is you can't get the same thing for $25,000. Price is Right. Your showcases are slumming. Step it up. From Deadline, CBS will mark 50 years of contestants coming on down for The Price is Right with a 2-hour primetime special. This will air Thursday, September 30th. The special will look back at the biggest winners, never before seen outtakes, and a salute to Bob Barker. Bob Barker hosted The Price is Right for his first 35 years and said, the show has the most enthusiastic and fun audience that one can ever ask for. They truly were and are the heart and soul of the show. It's an incredibly memorable ride. Congratulations to The Price is Right on 50 historic years. Here's to 50 more. The show debuted September 4th, 1972. More than 68,000 contestants have played The Price is Right, and 2 million plus have been in the studio audience. The first prize ever offered on the show was a Chevy Vega worth $2,746. Since then, they've given away 8,400 cars. That seems low to me. Drew Carey said, hosting The Price is Right has been a dream job for me. I never thought my safe space would be on a soundstage wearing a mic, cameras on me constantly, and with millions of people watching. But that's what The Price is Right is for me. I love it. Season 50 premieres tomorrow. It'll feature 2 new games, including Back to 72, a limited edition one that will only be played throughout the 50th season, complete with a retro 70s look. That's cool. In the game, contestants' pricing skills will be tested on actual items that appeared on the show during the early years of its run on CBS. Today's Daily Comedy News is brought to you by The Weekly Comedy Thing. That's the show I host on the Live by Live app. It is free. The difference between this and that is on that, I don't talk as much. And more importantly, I get to play stand-up comedy. So say I told you a story about Tiffany Haddish, what I would do on the Weekly Comedy Thing on your Live by Live app is I would play something by Tiffany Haddish. You get it? You get it. Weekly Comedy Thing on the Live by Live app. It's free. Download it, man. Vulture did a deep dive on the art of bringing up the next comedian in the headline. Give it up for the bring up. As audience members exit a stand-up comedy club after a show, hopefully high on laughter and a little sore in the midsection, they often discuss their favorite performers or the jokes that hit them the hardest. What they probably don't cover is the blink and you miss it critical event that occurs between each act, the bring up. That is industry parlance for comedian introductions carried out by a host. Now, if you've never been to a comedy show, this is a good primer here. Typically, the host opens a show with a few minutes of material to warm up the crowd. They also introduce the comics and keep track of their stage time, signaling them when it's nearly up, aka the lights. But during those sets, the host carefully plots their next bring up, taking the temperature of the audience as they respond to the previous performer. Sometimes the circumstances call for the host to dive into some more material across an as yet determined amount of time, and sometimes it doesn't. John Laster is a host at the Comedy Cellar and says the host's aim is to have the crowd's energy at a boil when they execute the bring up. Likening the job of the host to that of a pace car, someone who sets the rules of the night, Lester adds that the bring-up also plants seeds of host credibility in the crowd and establishes trust that whomever they introduce to the stage throughout the show will be funny. If the crowd energy is where the host wants it to be, they'll simply have to keep it rolling and just bring up the next comedian. John Fish, the Comedy Cellar host who brought up Ray Romano in his 2019 Netflix special, says he keeps an eye out for distracted audience members between sets. When servers are taking orders, for example, John Fish will do a brief, tried-and-true bit to eat up some time and get a laugh from whoever's paying attention. Sometimes, even if the previous comic killed, counterintuitively, he'll take an extra moment on stage to neutralize the energy. I want everyone focused. I don't want anybody talking to each other about the last act in the audience. I try to bring up people with a clean slate so it's a fresh start for the comic and the audience. Pay close enough attention to bring ups and you'll hear some stock phrases. Sean Donnelly says, "Let's keep that energy going," a cliche but nonetheless an effective line. Among the hardest jobs a host has to accept is bring up a comic after the previous one bombed. A series of tricks are at the crafty host's disposal in this scenario, helping them smooth out the transition into the next act. The biggest hurdle for many comics who want to host is checking their egos at the door. It's not your job to crush. If the host gives each upcoming act the proper bring up, everyone else on the bill will flourish, and that's a win. And that is your comedy news for today. Follow this show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Check out the Weekly Comedy Thing on the Live by Live app. And follow me on Instagram at Daily Comedy News. See you tomorrow.